Hi, my name is Connor, and today I'm going to be analyzing a poem entitled "O Captain, My Captain," written by Walt Whitman. The basic summary is that a funeral is being held for an unnamed man that the author refers to as the Captain. It's 3 paragraphs long and is a touching sentiment in the memory of the Captain, as well as how much he meant to everyone in his life. My first reading of this led to my original interpretation of the narrator being the captain's son, parting ways with his father at the time of his death. While the evidence was there to support this claim, upon further research, I discovered that the poem is surprisingly an extended metaphor based on the death of U.S. President Abraham Lincoln. It was composed in 1865, shortly after his assassination, and since Whitman was alive during the Civil War, he considered Lincoln to be a personal hero of his and wrote the poem out of love for the tragic fall of a man he idolized dearly. The poem itself makes references to Lincoln being the captain of the fallen ship, the United States, and Whitman himself basically telling him that his voyage leading America is over now and wishes him well into the afterlife. Now, while the poem may have a definitive meaning behind it, I don't necessarily think that robs it of the ambiguity on the surface level pertaining to really any interpretation.
Oh, look at me, I used a big word. Someone comment on how intelligent I am.
Simply put, the text can be associated with whatever the reader thinks the meaning behind it is, because of the vague nature in that there is little to no detail given in regards to the story or characters. The entire narrative is so bare bones that it is left up to you to fill in the blanks. For example, my original theory of the poem secretly being about his son losing his father in the Navy and holding a funeral as his last voyage makes for a really, no pun intended, poetic and sentimental message that can be felt by anyone who's lost a friend or family member, especially if as a serviceman and or women. Obviously, grand gestures never make up the loss of a loved one, but they go a long way to show how much people cared for them. Like I said before, the poem is extremely short, and yet it has an insane amount of subtext dripping throughout, which is somehow even more impressive. There are so many ways to look at the story and what it means that analyzing it from different viewpoints almost brings a sense of intrigue, weirdly enough, to something that even a 7-year-old could read under a minute. Each line is a reference to essentially what Whitman was intending with this poem, and believe me, it shows. The ship has weathered every rack, the prize we sought is won is alluding to how far America had come during the Civil War, and the so-called prize is peace, finally being achieved after years of senseless violence. Rise up, for you the flag is flung, for you the bugle trills, for you bouquets and ribbon wreaths, for you the shores are crowding, is a sort of salute to Lincoln with all the various things you could see at a large funeral service for an American tragedy. Flags, bugles, wreaths, and mourning crowds. And the entire last paragraph is a reminder that Lincoln is no longer with us, complete with a few too many uncomfortable references to his corpse. Sure, there's a nice little line about how his voyage is finally completed and how he can now rest, but the ending is a little sorrowful as the line, "But I with mournful tread walk the deck my captain lies," alludes to Whitman having to walk the ground his hero once fought for without him alive to walk in himself. Whitman is feeling melancholic about the ordeal, and it kind of makes you feel the same way. This past year, we've been exposed to characters whom, in the eyes of the others inhabiting their worlds, also view them in the same light that Whitman viewed Lincoln. Jay Gatsby and Willie Loman are the so-called captains of their worlds, and are each seen in this respective light. Only, there are a few discrepancies between the two.
Full of myself when all that I want is out there waiting for me the minute I say it. I know who I am. Now, why can't I say that, Willie?
The door of your life is wide open!
Pop, I am a dime a dozen, and so are you.
I am not a dime a dozen!
Socially, Willie Loman is a middle-class working man, living in a 2-story apartment building with only a few rooms. He needs to provide for his family in a standard day job. He has to worry about bills, his children's education, and future employment, his mortgage, his car, and tons of other stuff your parents probably stress about on a daily basis. Willie is old, cranky, driven, stubborn, and secretly insecure. On the opposite end of the spectrum, however, we have Jay Gatsby. Unlike Willie, Gatsby is extremely wealthy with a large mansion that has plenty of space, an estate covering God knows how many yards, multiple fancy cars, and a team of servants and handymen at his beck and call. Gatsby himself is young, debonair, suave, handsome, calculating, easygoing. He's played by Leonardo freaking DiCaprio, for crying out loud. What these two lack in similarities regarding their social status and personality, however, they more than make up for in the ways that they tackle their goals. This is through their ambition to chase the American dream and reap the benefits. It's this driving passion that is the main reason why they are viewed of as idols. Both Biff and Nick are the speakers of their heroes' memorials, which is literal considering they both die at the end of their respective stories, commemorating why they mattered in their lives so much. And while these men are finally getting a long-deserved rest, their admirers are feeling sorrowful over their losses and must now continue life without them. It's a stark and grim reality, but in the end, tragic though it may be, it is just that. Reality. The poem's connections to society are not as blatant, but they are still there. In the case of its role in media literacy, though, it has an ideological message and some social implications. Everyone on Earth has a person that they look up to, with pride, with admiration, with hope. These are the people that become inspired by their heroes to make something of themselves. And they can be found at any age, not just as a doe-eyed little kid or something. So it comes as a crushing blow, no surprise, when these people are no longer with them. And why is this so? And I personally think it comes from a fantasy-like expectation set by the people that you consider great as practically invincible. Okay, they can't be touched, so to speak, because, you know, they're famous, they're celebrities. What I personally believe can be taken away from the poem is that while Whitman himself may have been using it to cope with the death of his personal hero, he was inadvertently reminding readers that something like that could potentially happen to them. In fact, sad as it may be, it will probably happen. We all have people that we look up to, whether it be a celebrity or a family member or a friend. These are the people that inspire you, and that is why you view them as such. Heroes come and go, but the sad reality is, in the eyes of the universe, they won't be with us forever. And it speaks volumes to us as a society that we rely on others who are more powerful to help us achieve greatness through their own might. But really, is that a bad thing? I don't think so in any way, shape, or form. If mankind didn't have anyone to look up to, where does inspiration come from? How do new generations decide that they want to do something if they don't have other people showing them what it's like? 2016 was a landmark year for, among other things, a record number of celebrity deaths, all of which were dismal losses. When David Bowie died, millions of music fans wept because of how much he inspired them. Not just through picking up an instrument and playing a tune, but through the persona he displayed by basically saying, yeah, it's totally cool to be weird because it's fun and I get to wear a lightning bolt on my face.
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm very, very happy to have you here tonight.
Great. I'm so happy to be here. God, I love being on TV.
Oh, good.
When Carrie Fisher died, I can't tell you how many sci-fi film nerds and geeks, myself included, were just in utter shock over the fact that Princess Leia herself was gone. Her character is without a doubt one of the most iconic and inspirational female characters written in cinematic history, and if we're being honest here, she totally rewrote the book on what a princess used to be, which was this.
Mario, help! I've been kidnapped!
Again? Alright, which castle does Bowser have you at?
Now, one way this can be looked at through a positive light is that death is a relatable thing. It's always prevalent, but when it happens to the ones you view as these Greek, Roman gods, it hits a little close to home, not gonna lie. But at the same time, it shows how human they were. They weren't immortal beings sent from the heavens, they were people, like you and me. And I sincerely believe that it is this relatable quality that makes the people you hold such high esteem for even more special.